So starting off today, we have Keziah, Alicia, and Tiana.
So our pitch is about Anonymous, and we decided to pick this because we wanted to do something a bit different with our subject theme, which was about cyberbullying. And so instead of a normal thriller drama, we decided to pick a thriller, psychological thriller. So with my mood board, I decided to pick different movies that was that inspired me to think of what I wanted the concept of our opening sequence to be. So I mainly picked David Fincher's movies because he normally had psychological thrillers such as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which the opening sequence had black and white themes. So we wanted to incorporate it into our opening sequence. I also picked like the dressing tag for our stalker would be either black, completely black, or black and white. And for the main character would be dressing in a girly type of way, so to represent her as a very girly and happy person. I also had elements such as social media, and our main one would probably be WhatsApp. I also used like elements of Pretty Little Liars and the fact of the Enigma codes of how we never actually find out what A is, and we wanted to use that into our opening sequence.
This one's my mood board, and I focus more on the visual aspect rather than the actual film. So you can see that you have like titles that are like in yellow. So that's gonna be in our opening sequence. That was inspired by the film Drive, where we could see the title and like the typography was in pink, and it sort of threw us off to what genre it would be, so that's why we have it. And my idea was similar to Keziah's, where we have the girl like dressing girly and sort of looks like a typical teenager in Bridge sixth form, and the media group chat as well, that is going to center around social media, and we couldn't get her having an iPad or a computer on her all the time, so just decided with a phone. And the other aspect would be the color gradient at the bottom, where we have the whole film is sort of like a dull, low key lighting gradient. So that's about. Okay, so as Keziah was talking about, our inspiration came from our director's research, which we include in our blog. So for Keziah and Alicia's, theirs was David Fincher and mine was Nicholas Wooden, because mine focused more on the visual aspect of the movie. So. And this was in this was picked by Keziah. She liked it because of in Gone Girl, I don't think you could see at the top, but there was like a voiceover, and we couldn't hear anything else other than that voiceover from the beginning, and she liked it because we thought we wouldn't have much dialogue in ours, so we could have a voiceover. And another thing was the monochrome in the bottom slides that she also liked. Yeah, so the concept was based on the two TV films, Cyberbully. So you have the American version and the UK version. So ours will take place outside in British Academy and Helliston, but for the UK version of Cyberbully, it took place just in the girls' room. So we just wanted to take that and put it in a social element.
Okay, for key characters, we decided to have 2 key characters, and then there'll be extras amongst that. So the key character, her name's Becky, and she's just like, the opening sequence just basically bases around her and how she gets cyberbullied, and she doesn't realise the real consequences of social media. So that's one of the key characters, and the other one is...
She's the victim, sorry.
Yeah. And then the other key character is the Stalker, also known as the Hood. So he's the one that's basically bullying the other main character, Becky, and just stalking her, and like he's just remains anonymous throughout the whole opening sequence. And then for the extras, we just have her friends and like people who attend the school, and then the general public.
So a narrative and plot. The meaning of doing this movie is to show the dark side of social media, but to show it in a different way that hasn't been done. So in the two movies that we was inspired by was Cyberbully, by the UK version and the US version. Both of them had them talking about how one it was just mainly about how social media is like really corrupt and how cyberbullying is like really effective, but we wanted to show it in a different light, how cyberbullying can actually go a bit further than that, how it can actually be like a bit more dark and sinister like that. So we're gonna have the Hood and or the Stalker just like in plain sight, that the girl wouldn't never like notice. The reason why we're doing this is because we didn't want to focus on the drama side. We didn't want to focus on how the girl wanted to like commit suicide or whatever. We wanted to focus on how you should be careful and aware of what social media is and how you should present yourself in it. Just because you're anonymous doesn't mean that you should be harassing people or being rude or spreading rude comments.
For mise-en-scène, for the costume, we were just thinking of something normal, everyday, like sixth form, what we wear for sixth form. And then for the whole Hood, we were thinking like all black, like a typical hoodie, tracksuits, and mask to like obviously mask his identity. And for one of the props, we're going to use a phone because that's where it's basically based on social media. So we thought the phone would be a good thing. And we thought that for the locations, we would choose school and Haggerston Station to show the everyday life of the teenager and how what happens throughout the day. And then for lighting, like we decided to do low-key lighting to keep the theme of the psychological thriller, and how thrillers have really low lighting and have really dim colours, and yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking before that the visual side of it would come from all three genres. So my genre for my responsive brief was neo-noir, which means that throughout it will just be monochromatic, like colours, just be black and white. And then another movie that I saw this in was in Sin City, where they have black and white and then the title is in red. So yeah, that's it for visual colours, visual style.
For our sound and music, we decided to have a soundtrack from Gone Girl, which was with Suspicion. We also thought of having a clock sound, but we haven't really finalised that point yet. We also had the point where at the start it would be a non-diegetic sounding of an over voice, and then it would have her just talking about her life story, but it would be a very quick one.
Lovely, wow. Has anyone got any questions? I've got a couple. No, it is really useful to think of questions while you're watching it because it's useful to ask the girls those. First question is about your influence or influences. So, Alicia, I know that you did David Fincher for your director research. What aspects of David Fincher do you see influencing this opening sequence?
Pretty much the genre and like the whole idea about how it has Enigma codes and how there's always like someone behind. It's like a mystery kind of, and how there's always someone behind it, and like no one ever like knows
like a
who
hidden
it is.
character.
Yeah,
that is really important, isn't it, to its film, definitely. And then Tiana, you talked a lot about your visual influence, and you mentioned neo-noir, and you also mentioned Nicholas Winding Refn as your director research. What is it about his visual style that you were hoping to replicate?
I think because we were watching Drive that I didn't think the genre was what it was until the ending where we discussed it. So I thought, and I got different influences from like a music video, for example, like with the yellow writing, it wasn't just a plain music video, but I thought, I haven't seen that in a movie where it has yellow, so I liked it and thought that it could throw the audience off of what it actually.
So you're kind of trying to subvert expectations by
Yeah.
making them think it's one type of film,
Yeah.
but actually revealing it's kind of quite dark in a society. Yeah, you should watch the opening sequence, The Blue Velvet by David Lynch. That's quite famous for doing exactly that thing.
And then lastly, Keziah, you've mentioned quite a lot that this is going to be a psychological thriller, but I couldn't help but feel when you were talking through things that it had a lot of conventions of horror films, like with this kind of masked hero and this kind of stalker narrative. Why is it a psychological thriller and not a horror film? What is it that it's got that...
I don't think it will be horror because it's like a bit more different to what it actually really is, because it's more messing with the Becky, her mind, and not only messing with her mind but also messing with the audience mind, because like you want her to find out who the person is, but you don't want like for her to get in trouble or something, or get like caught or something, but you also want to find out yourself. So it's like, if it was a full-length movie, I don't think we would actually reveal the person's character
Until right at the end.
Yeah, and then it would be a bit more. I think the character that you would think it would be, like such as Pretty Little Lies, you never thought it would be this person, but then it ends up not being her. So it's like a little bit of like a cliffhanger, but not normal.
So it's psychological in a sense that it's playing with her mind as opposed to being a horror, which might inflict some sort of harm on her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. All right, lovely. Well done, girls.